Hello, DC Collectibles Facebook fans. This is Brian Walters here, Senior Art Director of DC Collectibles. Jim Fletcher is not here, but what I have is a great understudy and our great sculptor, Jack Matthews. We'll explain why he's here in a minute. But first, I want to make you all aware of an announcement that happened yesterday. DC Collectibles is going to be at Designer Con in Anaheim, California next weekend. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have a few exclusives. Most prominently is the DC Artist Alley Nightwing by Newligan, the Eclipse variant, this great black and gold variant as designed by Newligan. And what's great about this, it's limited to 200 pieces, it's $100. And the Joker, Newligan has drawn 200 unique sketches for this Nightwing figure. Now he does a variety of characters from the Joker, Harley Quinn, Batman, etc. But each box will have this unique sketch inside. Again, $100 price point. We're in booth 1500, so come and see us. We'll have a few other exclusives by Joe Ledbetter, Chrissy Zullo, so on and so forth. So very exciting stuff. So stop by and see us next weekend at DesignerCon. I'll place that off to the side. So the reason that Jack is here is, so the DC Artist Alley line started this year actually, with the Chris Uminga figures, the Newligan figures, like the one you just saw there, and our third artist in the line is Sho Murase. So Sho, we've been a fan of her artwork for so long. She's done a lot of work for consumer products. We had seen her artwork in Style Guide. We've seen her artwork in Artist Alley. I had this book that I got from her, I don't know how long. She had our characters in there, and we all decided that this was an artist that we wanted to include in the Artist Alley line because she doesn't have the house style. It's very unique, and we were intimidated, but really wanted to see what this artwork would look like in 3D form. So this was actually a powdered nylon 3D print that we used to test out her form factor. We took this to Toy Fair in 2017, I believe, and showed it to some retailers. They were over the moon about it, so we decided to push forward, and you'll see what came of it here. We have Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman. So Jack did the Catwoman statue, so we're going to end on that one. But the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy were sculpted by another super talented sculptor by Sam Greenwell. We'll unbox these, and then we'll get Jack involved to talk about his Catwoman statue. So you'll see it's in our DC branded packaging. Mimics the other Artist Alley packaging. These are $40 price point. They're in stores this month. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the back of the package as well. You'll see that there are some variants, but also the three figures together. There's a nice bio about Sho Murase and her background. And then again, it has the inspiration artwork on the side. So these are in stores this month. These two were sculpted by Sam Greenwell. And I'll pull this out of the box. Now we pre-cut the tape. There's some tape on the top and on the sides that you'll have to work through. They come in a clamshell like this. Thank you, Jack. So you'll see the Poison Ivy statue here. Just gently pull this out of the clamshell. We don't want to break anything. So you'll see that there. And the inspiration artwork that went with it here. So you have an art card here and a blank art card behind it. So you'll see all the great detail of this Poison Ivy and how we were able to translate that style, which Jack's going to speak to a little bit more in a second. Then we'll go ahead and open the Harley Quinn DC Artist Alley. So what we love about DC Artist Alley is it recreates that fan experience, as I mentioned, of you going to Artist Alley and maybe commissioning a sketch, buying a sketchbook like the one I had with Sho Murase just there. And we really are able to capture different art styles that maybe aren't the house style for DC Comics or collectibles. So you'll see the hammer is packed separately, so you'll have to pull that out. And this just slides into the hand here, so it takes a little finessing. Maybe I can do this. The plastic can warp a little bit, so you'll just need to finesse the hammer in there, but we want to make sure it's snug enough that it'll hold that position. So there you go. You'll see the original artwork there, the Harley Quinn there. So these are available this month, $40 price point. These two sculpts were done by Sam Greenwell. They're really, really beautiful. And now we're going to move on to Catwoman. So Jack Matthews has been a sculptor for DC Collectibles and DC Direct before that for what, over 15 years? At least 15 years. He's sculpted almost every CoverGirl statue. You've probably sculpted, let's see, we celebrated Wonder Woman's 75th anniversary a little while ago. You mentioned an infographic with all the 75 Wonder Woman collectibles.
75 of your favorite.
And how many did you say you sculpted on there?
I think I was involved with about 16 of them.
Okay, so that's a solid chunk just with Wonder Woman alone. So you can't imagine all of the other things you may have sculpted. Movie figures to action figures to...
Yep. Most of the CoverGirls.
Yeah, and he's been a understudy on the Bombshells line as well, which has been super helpful. So we're going to pull this Catwoman out. Now, Jack, can you speak to a little bit, how hard was it to translate Sho's art style in 3D form?
I'm a huge fan of Sho Murase's artwork, and I just love this black and white. My mother's a Japanese sumi-e artist, so she does a lot of black and white ink drawings. And what was really difficult with Sho's work is that she uses the white of the page and the negative space to create a lot of the flow of the drawings. So I was really worried when we translated that into 3D that it would really sort of close it off. But I think it worked out really well, and I'm really happy with the way it translated. So it was a pleasant surprise to finally see it in 3D.
Yeah, and when I was, working with the illustration and you're trying to isolate the image off the background and talking about those negative spaces, Sho uses those negative spaces to make up things that aren't necessarily there, right?
Yeah.
So that was always a huge challenge, even just from me working with her artwork point of view. I mean, you see it here, but when you try to actually use it, it's really challenging to translate.
Yeah, I love the way she uses the color, just a splash of color to really sort of highlight the flow of the lines.
Yeah, now she... was it a challenge for you? Were you imagining these white strokes on the sculpt as you were? I know you and I went back and forth about should we use scribe lines, should we sculpt that in as a sculptural detail?
Yeah, that was a tricky one. I think you made a really good art direction call on actually painting them in as opposed to scribing them in, because that would have been too hard a line.
But too on the nose.
Just adding that splash of color makes it much more true to the artwork.
Yeah, and originally we weren't going to put on these white highlights that you'll see here. We were going to use a high gloss paint and hope that lights like we have here were going to pick up these natural highlights that are in our illustration. But we tried that. It wasn't working. It wasn't consistent. So we were like, well, let's just take that leap of faith, and I think we're really happy that we did. Yeah. So you currently, at the time, I think you were working on CoverGirl statues. Was it hard? Did you get a little whiplash going from the art style of Joelle Jones to Sho Murase?
Well, it was different. It was simpler, for one thing. There wasn't as much detail, so it was a quicker project. Mm-hmm. So I was happy about that. But,
the quick projects are always the great projects,
absolutely.
Right?
Get through it. But these are really beautiful. I'm so happy with the way they turned out, and Sho is just an awesome artist. So if you can support her by buying her artwork, that would be awesome. And I just got my samples of these Catwomen, and I was delighted to find out that there are different versions of them. There's an iridescent version, there's a sparkly, translucent version, and there's also a Christmas-themed version.
Yeah, so
which is metallic.
Yeah, so I should mention, not to cut you off there, but there are a number of variants. There's, I believe, 4 variants, 4 or 5. There's a direct market variant you can find at your local comic shops and whatnot. That's holiday themed. So imagine these, the black, instead of black, there's green, the red's a little cheerier, and they're geared for the holiday season. The Clear Cast Sparkle is available at Hot Topic, and that is there is literally glitter injected into the mold and is slightly clear and translucent. The white paint deco is still on top of it, but it's a really stunning piece. The iridescent is a paint application where it actually shifts from one color to another. So we've tried for like Catwoman that Jack sculpted, it goes from a black to a purple, which is just really stunning. Then there's I should also mention that there's a chase figure for these that come out at the end of the year, which is of Batgirl, which was sculpted by Sam Greenwell. And that has a number of variants as well. including a gold and white variant, which is available on the DC Universe Network. So lots of exciting things. But I think, Jack, you couldn't have been a safer sculptor to go with to try and translate this style. It's really intimidating to try and convert this illustration into 3D form.
It was intimidating, but I'm so happy with the way
Always
it
a
turned
pleasure to
out.
work with. And since Jack came all the way to the office today, we have an additional statue to unbox, not from the DC Artist Alley line, but Jack actually hasn't seen this in person. All he saw were the 3D renders on his screen. So I'm going to pull these away. And Jack, if you want to grab the box underneath, we'll reveal what we're unboxing.
Dun, dun, dun. Oops. Here is the Bombshells Batman and Catwoman statue.
So let me do the housekeeping real fast. This is in stores in the next couple of weeks, so look for it in your local retailer. The price point is $250, sculpted by Jack Matthews, of course, designed by Aunt Lucia, and it's another couple statue on our Bombshells line. We've had a few before: the Joker, Harley Quinn, the Superman Power Girl. I'm missing. I think that's all of them. So and then this will be the third one in the line: Batman, Catwoman statue. So, Jack, you want to take this one out?
Pull this out.
So while Jack does that, there's some cross-sell on the back panel. The Joker's Daughter is in stores pretty recently. We have Big Barda that's coming out early next year, so we finally get to Jack Kirby's Fourth World in the Bombshells line. Okay, let me take that.
Oh, look at that. Ooh.
I'll hold that if you want. Take the base out.
We'll have the base.
So there's very limited assembly here.
I think the magnetic base is a really nice touch. Snaps right in there. Ooh, look at that.
Okay. So there we have it.
Now, this is one piece. When I first saw the illustration, I was delighted. I just loved the drawing right off the bat because it captures that 40s aesthetic, the design of the costumes, the pose, the playfulness of the Catwoman stealing the keys behind his back as she goes in for a kiss. I just loved everything about this, the flow of his cape. And it was a breeze to do this. It's always a breeze to work with Brian Walters as an art director, but Aunt Lucia just did a stunning job, and I've heard he's very pleased with this statue, and I'm just thrilled with the way it came out.
Well, and Ant was over the moon that he was able to do a more traditional looking Batman. We had a variant cover month a few years ago where we did more of a detective Batman, so he was more Bruce Wayne in a detective suit that mimicked the Batman costume, but Ant really wanted to do a Batman, so we were glad that we were able to give him a proper Batman that still looked retro in the 40s, but really fits into the Bombshells line. So another thing to point out are the pearls that Catwoman has around her neck. So there's a few storytelling moments here that harken back to Batman's long history, so to speak. But this was really exciting. What do you see?
You got the keychain jingling there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's not a fixed piece. It actually
I was
will,
worried about
move with if you have a fan next to it or whatnot. But
look at that.
and that's plastic to avoid
it
breakage
doesn't
and whatnot.
break.
It
That's
doesn't
awesome.
break. So that's.
So this is a really excellent translation of his work.
And Catwoman's in her Bombshells costume that we released as a solo statue, but we were able to punch up some of the paint ops. So her purple suit has a little shimmer to it, which is a really nice touch. Kim Dullahan, who painted the Paintmaster, really did knocked it out of the park with this one.
Excellent job. I love that purple tint to the black. I thought it was going to be black, but it's just a stunning paint job.
From an engineering point of view, did you have any concerns about how Catwoman would be able to stay elevated like that? I know I made you kind of, make a solid key into the chest of Batman, right? But
she's pretty tight in there on Batman's chest, and he's got a pretty massive body, so there's plenty of purchase room. And there are lots of points where I was more worried about the translucency of the glasses, whether you'd be able to see through them and see their eyes, because both of them have shades on. So I was a little concerned that the expression would come through that, but it's an excellent job, and
Yeah,
you can.
our production team did a great job of making sure you could still see the eyes behind
Yeah.
those kind of translucent lenses. I don't know if you can see
And
that there. But.
I'm just delighted that the keys are jingling. It's such a nice touch.
I managed not to break them on the Paintmaster, which is a treat as well. So yeah, these are in the Bombshell scale, which is a 9-inch scale. So this will line right up with all your other figures. We have just to recap with this piece, it's $250 price point. It's available in the next couple of weeks. It fits right with the Power Girl Superman couple statue which Jack also sculpted. One of your last traditional pieces,
That's
I
right.
remember, right?
Yes, that was my last traditional piece.
I think it was, yeah. So,
Last one getting my hands dirty.
so this is Bombshell's Bat-Cat statue, as I like to call it, designed by Aunt Lucia, sculpted by Jack Matthews. And just to recap, this is in stores in a couple of weeks. The Show Murase figures, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy are in stores at the end of the month at a $40 price point for the DC Artist Alley line. We also have Chase figures coming out at the end of the year for all of our first-year Artist Alley artists. Chris Uminga has a Flash with a number of variants. Newligan has a Nightwing with a number of variants, and a Show has a Batgirl with a number of variants as well. They're all limited. Well, I should have called that out earlier. These main figures are limited to 3,000 pieces. Chase figures are all limited to around 1,000 or 1,500, and so on and so forth. So that's, I think, it for now. We'll see you next in a couple of weeks as we unbox the Aquaman movie statues. Mira, Black Manta, and Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa. So really exciting stuff. So tune in next week. I don't think Jack will be here for that one, but it's been great to have you here for this one.
It's been great to be here.
So thank you, Jack, and we'll see you
Thank
at
you.
the next unboxing.